Once upon a time, experts believed that computers and the internet would never take off. Now look at where we are. Technology continues to change at a rapid pace, and it's becoming harder and harder to keep up. Although it's clear that some forms of tech are gonna change our daily life more than others.
你想吃什么就吃什么吧。
From 3D printers to fake meat, here are 15 emerging technologies that will change our world. Number 15. Human hibernation pods. It can sometimes seem like we've learned all there is to know about our planet, so now we're trying to explore others. I mean, just look at what progress is being made with trips to Mars. However, visiting other planets and stars has been made a bit trickier given that it can take thousands of years to get to them. What options do we have? Well, one potential emerging technology in the future could be human hibernation pods. Even today, we've been toying with various forms of human hibernation. Medical professionals use therapeutic hypothermia to lower a person's temperature to increase their survival chances from strokes and heart attacks. But even in that regard, there's a fine line between hibernation and death. They use ice packs, coolers, and cold saline solution to help someone fall unconscious. They can then remain in this state for up to 2 weeks, known as a torpor state. SpaceWorks Enterprises created a report for NASA that discussed whether therapeutic hypothermia could be helpful for long-duration spaceflight. In the 6 to 9 months it takes to get to Mars, using hibernation could allow the crew to use fewer resources when their metabolic rate is lower. Who knows where this tech could be headed? Before we go on, like this video, smash the subscribe button and click the notification bell right now, or this centipede will crawl on your face when you're sleeping. Number 14. Living robots. We've got living creatures and we've got robots. Who would have thought that a hybrid of the two could exist? Living robots do, and there's a chance they could be used to clean up toxic waste and help with other tasks. Scientists took living stem cells from African frog embryos and used them to create new life forms called xenobots. They are not robots, nor are they animals. Instead, scientists are calling them living programmable organisms. They are, in essence, reconfigurable organisms that can heal themselves and move coherently. They're about 1 millimeter wide and can move towards targets you set. They were designed on a supercomputer at a university, then assembled and tested by Tufts University biologists. Co-leader Michael Levin said they imagine them having many valuable applications, like searching out radioactive contamination, gathering microplastic in the ocean, and being inserted into arteries to scrape out plaque. Even though scientists have been manipulating organisms for a while now, this new research was only freshly published in 2020. It's also the first time that biological machines have been designed from the ground up after months of processing. Number 13. 3D printer. 3D printing is the process of printing three-dimensional objects from a digital file. It's been around for a few years now, but it has moved beyond gimmicky little action figures and toys that people first played around with. Layer upon layer of material is added until they form an object. Each layer is a thinly sliced cross-section of the final product. As printers have become more advanced, we've been able to create some pretty spectacular things. We can now create actual houses with 3D printers, not to mention cars, body parts, and those wee things you put on masks to protect your ears.
बेचारे पिक के बाल ही बन पा रहे हैं बस.
The best part is, almost anyone with a bit of knowledge can get involved in 3D printing. You simply need to create a digital design in a 3D modeling program or use one that someone else has made. Import it to your 3D printing software, save it to a USB stick to insert into your printer, and then let the printer work its magic. Several different industries have been making use of this exciting tech, such as automotive, aerospace, medical, industrial, and education. Number 12. Artificial neurons on silicon chips. The neurons in our bodies are working units of the brain that transmit information to nerve cells, gland cells, and muscles. When they don't work correctly or are damaged, they can stop our bodies from being able to perform natural tasks. For example, someone with a spinal cord injury may not be able to walk. You might think that a damaged neuron is game over, but technology may be a game changer. Researchers at the UK's University of Bath have come up with low-power silicon chips that mimic the same or similar electrical activity as your body's neurons. As a result, there's potential for these chips to function like neurons in implants and medical devices. They may also be able to treat chronic diseases like heart failure and neurodegenerative diseases. Researchers have been working on this tech for ages, and they're excited about how it could be used to replace damaged neurons. The only setback is that biological systems are not straightforward or predictable. Not everything will be able to be replicated in a silicon chip. However, it may only be a matter of time before someone with a severe spinal injury may receive a silicon chip to help them walk again. Technology is an incredible thing. Number 11. Fake meat. Most of us fit into one of three categories: passionate meat eaters, take it or leave it, or vegetarian. But there's one thing we could probably all agree on, and it's that meat production impacts the planet. If we could come up with a solution to this problem without taking meat away from meat lovers, then we could probably all live in harmony. Around 30% of the world's ice-free land is used to raise livestock. Cows cause 10% of our anthropogenic greenhouse gas emissions, and we have to cut down our forests to make room for all these animals. So that's where fake meat comes in. What if we could enjoy the delicious taste and texture of meat, but without the environmental impact? We're already seeing a wide variety of plant-based products made to look and taste like meat, but it's now going even further than that. In 2013, Maastricht University's Dr. Mark Post created a lab-grown beef burger. It bled and smelled like a meat burger, but it didn't contain any meat. It was groundbreaking, but it has gone even further than that. Impossible Foods made plant-based meat from the heme of meat, and Memphis Meats produced the world's first cell-based beef meatball. The meat-free future is looking bright. Number 10. Warp Drive. After the year we've just had, it's no wonder that people are trying to look for ways to leave the planet. One of the main setbacks is the length of time it takes to get anywhere else. In 2017, astronomers discovered that our nearest neighbor, Proxima Centauri, may have habitable exoplanets. The problem is, it's 4.2 light years away. That would take between 6,600 and 113,000 years to get there with our current tech. As you know, that's not really possible when we only live for around 80 years. But that's where warp drive comes in. We first heard about it in Star Trek. The technology was described as a way to manipulate space and violate the laws of motion. With it, space explorers can travel faster than the speed of light. But that's fiction, so what are our options? Mexican physicist Miguel Alcubierre thinks that bending space-time could actually work. If you were to incorporate his theories into warp drive technology and put it into a spaceship, the space ahead of you would contract while the space behind you would expand. It would be like traveling in a bubble of space-time, or a warp bubble. Number 9. Living concrete. Concrete has been a marvelous invention. It's strong, easy to pour, and makes for some pretty handy housing platforms. But it's not perfect. It can crack and collapse even with reinforcement, since water can seep in through the cracks and rust that reinforcement away. Netherlands Delft University of Technology professor Henk Jonkers may just have the solution. He says they have invented bioconcrete, which is a concrete that can heal itself with bacteria. The concrete mixes like any other ordinary concrete, but it contains a healing agent. This remains intact during mixing, then dissolves and becomes active if or when the concrete starts to crack and water gets in. It took 3 years to come up with this new technology since they needed to find bacteria that could survive in an environment as harsh as one made of concrete. They would also need to be able to survive for potentially years until it was called upon to start the healing process. They ended up using Bacillus, which thrives in alkaline conditions and has spores that can survive for decades without oxygen or food. Tired of cracked pavements outside your house? This bioconcrete could be the answer. Number 8. Vacuum tube train travel. Because we now have cars, motorbikes, and trucks, trains can seem like a bit of an outdated form of travel. Surprisingly, it served us well in the past and continues to serve us well in the future, especially as we keep coming up with innovative technologies to make them even better. Elon Musk came up with the idea of making trains bigger and better than ever before. In 2013, he described his theory of the Hyperloop Alpha, which involved a vacuum tube transport system. He believed it could be a solution for high-traffic cities up to 900 miles apart. Pods or passenger cars could move through a tube in what would be a near vacuum of airspace. A fan in the pod's front would combat pressure buildup, and air bearings would allow it to move forwards at speeds of up to 700 miles an hour. With onboard batteries, it could also recharge during transit with built-in solar panels. Imagine how life-changing that could be. You could live and work in cities 700 miles apart, and it would still only take you an hour to get to work and back home again each day. Number 7. Self-driving, self-repairing cars. By now, most of us are aware of self-driving cars. They're not exactly commonplace, but they are becoming more and more so. However, another emerging technology is self-driving cars that are also self-repairing. Okay, alright, so you're probably thinking that cars have been able to diagnose their own issues for years. And they can. We see lights pop up on our dashes and we take them to a mechanic to fix them. We can even plug them into sensors to determine what other problems our vehicles might have, or how to make them more efficient. Experts believe that in the future, the same cars that can drive themselves may also be able to fix themselves. Well, sort of. They'll be able to diagnose all manner of faults and problems, and may even be able to predict future issues based on the expected wear and tear of parts. As a result, these cars may be able to make use of data collected by mechanics to tell you that in, say, 10,000 miles, you'll need to replace your fuel pump. You can then take action to avoid being stranded on the side of the road somewhere. Number 6. Flying cars. Okay, calm down. This isn't the Jetsons, but how cool would it be to see cars flying overhead? How amazing would it be to avoid traffic jams? Technology companies are cautiously saying it might only be around 5 or 10 years until flying cars and drones are commonplace. In that window of time, we need to start planning our traffic standards for the sky and not just for the road. Fortunately, help is at hand for this process. World Economic Forum lead for aerospace and drones, Harrison Wolf, has put together a set of principles for the urban sky. Cities worldwide can use them to make sure all flying car drivers are aware of their requirements. Los Angeles will be among the first to implement them, with other cities being able to follow their lead. So, what kind of flying cars can we expect to see filling our skies? Well, they'll be smaller than commercial planes, of course, but most will have rotors. They won't have wings, which means they'll be able to take off and land vertically. Number 5. Smart agriculture. The farming industry is under a bit of pressure. By 2050, our population is expected to grow to 9.6 billion, and that's a lot of mouths to feed. Fortunately, Internet of Things, or IoT, technology could mean that we can increase food production by at least 70%. Farmers can use data and analytics to increase their food production, such as with tractors that can determine how much soil moisture and sun plants need to grow. Farmers also have access to GPS technology, soil scanning, data management, automatic water sprinkling, and much more. All of these technologies equate to a more controlled and successful farming venture with increased production potential. IoT technologies will also allow food producers to reduce waste, improve livestock management and welfare, and predict weather patterns better. Smart farming can benefit fish farming, forestry, fleet management, small and large farms, and even storage monitoring. Organizations and businesses are also jumping on board to make our food go further. For example, Big Green is installing gardens in underserved schools, and Square Roots is teaching young farmers about raising crops with LED lighting in shipping containers. Number 4. Exoskeletons for workers. Much of the technology we have today has been able to limit how much manual labor we do. Still, there are plenty of industries that still require humans to do the job. Over time, those jobs can take a toll on our bodies. Exoskeletons, and more specifically, the ExoVest or EVO, is a game changer. EVO is an upper body lifting exoskeleton that reduces fatigue and increases productivity. It's a wearable piece of tech that may be able to eliminate back, shoulder, and neck injuries. It's lightweight and durable, and pretty much makes you feel like an Iron Man when you're wearing it. It also gives you extra strength and stamina while protecting you from injury. When you put it on, you notice that the harness fits securely around your upper extremities. It has minimal touch points, large holes for your arms, and a full range of motion in your joints while also supporting your muscles. Anyone from warehouse workers to construction workers could benefit from this exoskeleton. It's also not the first product that has hit the market like it. HULC was a hydraulic-powered exoskeleton that allowed soldiers to carry heavy equipment loads over long distances. They could support speeds of up to 10 miles per hour. Number 3. Floating farms. With our population growing at a rapid pace, finding a way to feed everyone is essential. The sooner we can come up with a solution, the better off we will be. Floating farms could be that very solution. We only have a certain amount of usable land, but 2/3 of our entire planet is made up of water. We may as well put it to good use. At least, that was what University of Sussex design graduate Leila Clark thought. She created a floating farm prototype that would allow small pods to float on the water and even in the ocean and be self-watering. They would have clear dome tops and a natural desalination process that would allow the plants to access fresh water by trapping water vapor below and using the condensation to water the plants. As long as there's salt water underneath the plant pod, the plants will get a sufficient amount of fresh water every day, Leila said. Leila has also proved that these plant pods work, as she was able to grow spinach and chard. She now hopes to get commercial funding so that she can make even larger domes and grow more plants. Number 2. Li-Fi. Li-Fi technology is a light-based communication technology that uses light waves instead of radio technology to deliver data. If you thought your internet was fast now, wait until Li-Fi becomes commonplace in the future. This form of tech will allow you to access even faster, even more reliable technology than ever before. It won't replace Wi-Fi or even 4G or LTE, but it will work alongside them to make sure you can stream and play online games to your heart's content without all that buffering nonsense. The best part is, Li-Fi will be a lifeline for any place that typically struggles with connectivity. So anywhere that doesn't support Wi-Fi, like hospitals and aircraft cabins, can make use of Li-Fi. You can also experience fewer network interruptions, high peak data rates, and more security. If that's not enough for you, then what about the fact that Li-Fi could be 10 times cheaper than Wi-Fi? Not everyone will understand all the voodoo and black magic behind how Li-Fi works, but we'll put it into simple terms for you. Li-Fi uses a photodetector to receive light signals, and then it converts the data into streamable content with a processor. Number 1. Artificial Intelligence. I knew it was coming, you knew it was coming, we all knew it was coming. Artificial intelligence. It's set to be one of the most disruptive human-made creations in history. In fact, experts say that AI will make most people better off in the next decade or so. From what we've seen of the technology we've got today, I'll be hedging my bets that that's quite an accurate assumption. There's every reason to believe that computers will become more intelligent than us and will be able to take on tasks that used to be reserved for us, like decision-making, learning, and reasoning.
I'm in New York City, and I'm on my favorite show, The Tonight Show.
AI will also be able to recognize patterns, use sophisticated analytics, and even recognize speech while providing language translation. In homes, farms, and businesses, we'll be able to benefit from the time and money savings while also making our lives a whole lot more convenient. Sure, it might be at the cost of our human autonomy, capabilities, and some of our jobs, but you gotta take the good with the bad. We just have to make sure that there are some rules in place for the use of AI, such as only using it for the common good, and making sure that advancements in AI are made to expand human capabilities rather than at their detriment. It's amazing to think that even in just a decade, we've gone from having dial-up internet to ovens we can turn on from our smartphones. It's just insane what people are coming up with. Do you see any of the emerging technologies above being popular? Would you or do you use any of them? Also, check out our other cool stuff showing up on screen right now. See you next time!